The Sweetheart in the Forest. Once upon a time there was a man who had a daughter. Her beauty was renowned across many kingdoms, and suitors came to her like as many leaves as fall in the autumn. One man made out that he was richer than all the others, and he was handsome and fine as well, and so he should have her, and from that time he visited often. As time passed, he invited her to his place, so she could see how he lived. However, he could not come and fetch her, so when the day came he would scatter peas to show her the way, all the way to his front door. But however it did or did not happen, he scattered the peas a day early. She followed the trail and walked far and for a long time. Through forest and mark the road went, and finally she came to a big, beautiful house, which lay on a green mound in the midst of the forest. He was not at home, however, and she found no people in the house either. First she came into the kitchen, but there was nothing to see there, other than a wondrous bird in a cage, hanging beneath the roof. She continued into the parlor, which was so stately it was unbelievable. But as she continued to walk around, the bird suddenly cried out to her, beautiful maiden, be bold, but be not too bold." When she came to a bedchamber, the bird cried the same again. The room had many chests of drawers. She opened them and found that they were full of finery made of silver and gold and many beautiful things. She went into the next chamber, and the bird cried out again, beautiful maiden, be bold, but be not too bold." This chamber was full of women's clothing, hanging on all the walls. When she went into the third chamber, the bird began to scream, beautiful maiden, be bold, but be not too bold." In this chamber there were buckets along all the walls, and every one of them was filled with blood. But when she went into the last chamber, the bird began to shriek, beautiful maiden, be bold, but be not too bold." The last chamber was filled with dead bodies and skeletons of dead women. She was so horrified she started to run out again, but she came no further than the closest chamber. Then the bird cried, beautiful maiden, spring under the bed, he is coming now." She was not slow to follow the bird's advice, and quickly hid under the bed. She crawled as far as she could and pressed herself against the wall. Indeed, if she could have crawled into the wall itself, she would have. Just then her sweetheart came into the room, bringing another maiden with him. She begged him so weakly and feebly for him to spare her life, and she would never tell anyone, but no prayer could save her. He ripped off her clothes and valuables, and even wanted the ring she was wearing on her little finger. He could not get it off, however, so he chopped the finger off, but it bounced under the bed. The maiden who lay there took the finger for herself and hid it. Her sweetheart had a little boy who accompanied him, and he told the boy to go under the bed to get the finger. The boy lay down and felt under the bed, and he felt the maiden that lay there. She squeezed his hand hard, and he understood her meaning. "It lays too far under the bed, I cannot reach it," he said. "It will have to lay there until tomorrow, when daylight returns, then I will fetch it." Early the next morning the robber went out again. He told the boy he should remain at home to look after the house and welcome the maiden he was expecting, but he was not to let her into the 2 rooms he knew about. When he had gone into the forest, the boy went inside and told the maiden she could come out. "You were lucky you were early, or he would have killed you just like all the others," he said. She did not stay long, but hurried home as quickly as she could. Her father asked why she had returned so soon, and she told him everything that had happened. Some time passed, and one day the suitor came visiting again. He looked so fine it dripped of him. He asked why she had not come to visit as she had promised. A visiting man on a sleigh had been in the way, her father answered. Now he would have to do with what the house could provide. He asked the sweetheart to stay, as she had invited some folk over for a feast. They might as well drink to their betrothal. When the meal was finished and they sat at table, the daughter of the house said she had had the strangest of dreams a couple of nights past, and if they had a mind to listen, she would tell them. However, they would have to remain seated until she was finished. They would all like to hear a story, and everyone promised to stay in their seats until she was done. The sweetheart promised as well. I dreamt that I was walking on the broad road, and where I walked, peas was scattered. That is just like when you walk to my place, my dear, the sweetheart said. The road grew narrower and narrower, and it went through forest and mark. Just like the road to my place, that is, my dear. Then I came to a green mound, where there stood a beautiful big house. That is just like my place, my dear, the sweetheart said. I walked into the kitchen. There was no one there but a wondrous bird in a cage hanging beneath the roof. And when I walked into the parlor, it shouted after me, Beautiful maiden, be bold, but be not too bold. That is just like at my place, my dear, he said. Then I went into the bedchamber, and the bird cried after me again. The room had many chests of drawers, and they were full of gold and silver and beautiful things. Yes, it was like at my place, my dear, the sweetheart said. I too have many drawers with gold and silver and costly things. Then I went into another chamber. The bird cried to me again, the same as he had said before, and there were women's clothes hanging all around the walls. Yes, that is also at my place, my dear, he said. There are clothes and finery both of silk and velvet. When I continued into the next chamber, the bird began to scream, Beautiful maiden, be bold, but be not too bold. And this chamber had many buckets and barrels standing along the walls, and every one of them was filled with blood. Oh, that's terrible! That is nothing like at my place, my dear, the sweetheart said. He was uncomfortable now and wanted to leave. I am just telling of a dream, of course. Please stay seated. You can always manage to listen. When I went into the next chamber, the bird began to scream as it had before. Beautiful maiden, be bold, but be not too bold. In here there lay many dead bodies and skeletons. No, it's certainly not as at my place, the sweetheart said. He wanted to leave now. Do sit, she said. It is nothing but a dream, and I am sure you can manage to listen to the end. I too thought this was terrible, so I ran out again. But I came no further than the next chamber, the one with all the blood. Then the bird shrieked that I should hide under the bed, for he was coming home. I did as the bird said. He came in with another maiden on his arm, and she was so beautiful I have never seen her equal. She pleaded so prettily that he should spare her life, but he cared not a whit for that. She begged and pleaded and cried while he ripped off her clothes and took everything she had. He spared neither her life nor anything else. However, on her left hand she had a ring, and he could not pull it off. So he cut a finger off, and it bounced under the bed where I lay. Oh, that's nothing like at my place, said the sweetheart. Yes, it was at her place. Here is the finger, and here is the ring, and there is the man who hacked it off and killed the maiden, she said. At this they took the sweetheart, and he lost his life for his crimes, and they burned both him and his house in the forest.